If you thought last season was deep,
You haven't heard anything yet.
this is Boots to Boots.
The moments where everything you thought you knew about yourself changes.
Because this is the stuff no one wants to talk about.
But it's what needs to be talked about.
Healing doesn't happen alone.
It happens through shared experience.
So lace up your boots.
Join the conversation.
We'll be talking to you. Today's guest is someone who's worn just about every pair of boots you can in the wrestling industry.
World champion, tag team champion, agent, producer, commentator. What hasn't she done? What pair of boots hasn't she worn? And now she's officially hung up her wrestling boots.
She's navigated motherhood and somehow being my best friend. She's my fairy god sister and what I'm dubbing her to be the queen of reinvention, Madison Rayne.
That was the best intro ever.
I'm glad you love it.
Hi, friends.
Hi, thanks for coming on.
God, that still sounds so weird. Like she's officially hung up her boots.
Yeah, well, that's where we wanted to start because it's been, when this airs, a month, maybe 6 weeks since we stood side by side at Hammerstein Ballroom for your final match ever. So why don't you tell us what led you to that decision, and when the final bell rang, how did you feel?
Yeah. It's been really hard over the last few years to balance agenting, producing, coaching with wrestling, because in my opinion, you have to love them both. You have to give 100% of yourself to both of them, and giving 100% of myself to two separate things in one day was challenging. But also I've always had in the back of my mind this this little voice telling me, get out and retire and know when enough is enough. People do it all the time. They outstay their welcome in the wrestling business. And I didn't want to be somebody that did that. I think I did a really good job over 20 years of moving with the ebbs and flows and the different dynamics of wrestling. And, it was super storytelling focused when I first broke into television wrestling. And then a few years in, it was the wrestling is the most important part. So that forced me out of my comfort zone. It forced me to get better, do better, reinvent myself. And I did that so many times that at this point, when my full-time job is coach, producer, and I love it so much, it was these two things both telling me it's time to celebrate your career instead of trying to prolong it past what is necessary. I've done everything that for me I needed to do to fill my cup and feel fulfilled. And I semi-retired a few years ago because I thought it was the right thing during COVID. I got my business degree. I got a job selling mortgages. I thought, okay, this is my career path now. This is my life. Let me force myself to step away from wrestling. And it didn't feel right. It wasn't the right time. And so now, having done that, I'm glad that I did that. As much as the internet wants to tell me I've retired 45 times, it's actually only been twice. But I'm glad that I did it the first time to know the difference and the way that it feels different. Before, I felt like there was still a little bit more that I hadn't done. And now I feel so accomplished and so ready to continue moving on within the wrestling industry, just in a different space. And I feel really fortunate to be able to do that.
Well, I feel so fortunate that I got to be a part of it. And I feel like Steve and I have also been we were part of the first semi-retirement and then the comeback and then this part in AEW, and Steve got to be there for the retirement, and obviously Josh is in the truck producing, so it was really special for us to get to be a part of that. So I'm going to thank you for the rest of our lives, but thank you for being able to share this moment with me.
Thank you, because you are still at this point in your career where your trajectory is still going up and up and up, and you've still got so much to do and so much to give, and you're burning so bright, and I don't want to say took a step back, but I feel like took a step back to have this match with me. And I am just incredibly grateful to you for that. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was happy to be there that day, and it was fun just to watch. I don't know, just see how you were the whole day too. And I asked Dee, like, how's she doing? And like, she couldn't tell right away. She's like, I think she's good. I can't really like. I want to have the best match possible, and I want to make this mean the most for her because it is however you picture your last match, and I don't know how I picture my last match yet, but like I would assume like you just felt gratified, and I know afterwards the crowd kind of picked up on what was going on. And it's like, you got to realize you're 20 years and that's a long time in the wrestling industry, especially on the female side of things these days, because you don't hear that much. And from you starting off in TNA and then making your way to AEW, then it's just a long, long time. So did you ever picture yourself when you started off lasting 20 years in the wrestling industry?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And it's so weird because I will be 40 in just a couple weeks in February. And so I have literally been doing this half of my life, my entire adult life. And so I still have these moments where it feels surreal, like it's not done yet, like I'm just focusing on the coaching and focusing on producing, but I'm still gonna wrestle. But those moments are becoming more fleeting. And it's not sad to me at this point. It's happy. It's like, I didn't picture my last match either. I didn't know. All I knew was that I didn't want it to be a huge, like, I didn't want it to be promoted as Madison Rayne's retiring. I didn't want it to be like, I didn't want the focus of what was happening in the women's division, whether it was going to be on Dynamite or Collision or Ring of Honor. And I'm so glad that we ended up doing it on Ring of Honor for a lot of reasons. But I didn't want my moment to mess up the dynamic of what was already happening within the women's division. So the fact that Tony Khan allowed me to just kind of slide in with my best friend and have this match, and it just kind of like fit the way that everything else was happening with Ring of Honor and with the women in Ring of Honor. I'm really grateful for that because I don't need to go out as champion. I didn't need the streamers. I didn't want any of that. For me, I know the things that I've accomplished. And to have that moment, actually, as I'm saying this, it almost felt more personal and more special that like people kind of started to find out throughout the course of the day. The people who needed to know knew. Everyone obviously in the match knew. Tony knew. Our producer knew. Josh knew. Steve knew. But people kind of started to find out as the day went on. And then, like you said, the crowd after the match, like they figured it out. It wasn't shoved down their throats. They figured it out. And it was all just so natural and happened organically. And now, because of the way that happened and the way that Tony let us do that, I'm going to look back and be so fulfilled and so happy and know that I did it my way and I didn't disrupt anyone else's what they had going. I didn't disrupt the dynamic of anything else that was happening to have my moment. And I'm thankful for that.
Yeah. And when I looked at it too, I thought, and you both have seen like every iteration of the Virtuosa, and she's a bitch and she's self-centered and she doesn't get along with people. And I think that why I loved it so much was like, this is my real best friend. This is someone who's seen me since I was 19 years old, starting in professional wrestling. And like, it gave me that. It naturally flowed into like winning the title and against Billy and then the tag match. And it was like, okay, you're allowing me to be a different version of me through you being you. And I think that's really hard for me to do, is to like be genuine and kind and like talk about my emotions and talk about what people mean to me. It's not comfortable. But being able to do that with you gave a whole different perspective of who I am right now in Ring of Honor. And so that's why I loved it, because it did feel natural and organic, and it just kind of fit perfectly, even though we didn't expect it to be happening when it was happening. It just fit perfectly.
And it's even just a good mindset for you as well. Like for you wearing so many different hats and different boots and being a coach, being a commentator, being a pro wrestler, being a producer, like that just shows as well though too, is like, it's all for the better part of the show. And that's kind of in the end, all of us ever want to do is we want to just make what we do matter and make it as authentic as possible.
Yeah.
So then for you, with now being done in ring, but still being a producer and a coach, like what do you feel throughout your entire 20 years then has been like the toughest pair of boots to put on? What was that one challenge?
Yeah. I think I've spoken to this before, but maybe not like widely known. When I became a mom, my daughter was born at the end of August, and I had my first match back right before Christmas of that year. So August, and then December I had my first match, and then January I won the Knockouts title for the 5th time.
Just got to throw that in there.
5 times.
That was really difficult. But also at the same time, ignorance was bliss in that moment. Like I didn't know what I was doing. My daughter was 8-10 weeks old, whatever that math is. And I wanted to get back to wrestling, but I also needed it. I needed it because of what was happening in my personal life at the time. I needed it because I think it's really important for moms to make sure that they carve out time to find themselves or find the new iteration of themselves. I think it's healthy, but it was also something that came about a lot faster than I had originally planned. And it wasn't an ease back into wrestling. It was, okay, we're going to do these shows in Orlando. And then, okay, now it's the beginning of the year. You're going to go on the UK tour. And then while I was in the UK, I got an email telling me that I was going to represent TNA in Japan. Oh so I'm doing all of these things. I'm also like, things are a bit of a dumpster fire behind the scenes for me. And it was this weird dynamic of, I'm so happy and look what I'm doing. And I'm making history. I'm the first female wrestler who has had like a successful career on television, stepped away to become a mom. And then I'm coming back like full force, and I'm Knockouts champion, and I'm literally traveling the world. And then you get home from a trip like that, and my bestie Taylor Swift said it a couple years ago at the Super Bowl when she was celebrating on the field. She said, jet lag is a choice.
Yeah.
And at first I was like, no, it's not. Like, you get real tired when you're switching time zones. But then I think like, no, it actually was, because there's a picture of me somewhere in my phone having just gotten home from the UK. And it's like bedtime for a baby. And my daughter is just wide awake, like bright-eyed, hey, Mom. And I didn't have a choice but to be awake. And I was in it, and I was happy, and I did all the things. And somehow that pair of boots that I strapped on at that time in life somehow carried me through a really successful time in my career, taught me how to be a mom, but was without question the hardest chapter in my adulthood.
Yeah. And we were going to ask about that. And I think you kind of touched on it, but like, did then becoming a mom like change how you perceived wrestling? And did you realize like there's pressure to it to be representing motherhood for the first time on national television, but also like, did it change the way you wanted to wrestle? Did it change the schedule once you could have a say in that, how you adjusted your time to divvy up between the two?
Yeah. God, at the time I didn't No, like I wasn't in a clear headspace to really like sit down and I'm also not a type A person, so I don't run like with a like structured schedule. And I think that probably helped me out a little bit. But at first it was really difficult. And there were a lot of tears and there was a lot of guilt around, okay, most people get to go to work from 9 to 5 or whatever their office hours are. And then they get to go home and they get to make dinner and they get to put their kids to bed and give them a bath and do all those things. And there are nights that I'm sacrificing that to go to work. And it was hard because work for my entire adult life and for all of us who do this, work doesn't feel like work. It's something that's like we love to do. It's a dream that we chased. So it almost felt like, wait, you shouldn't be enjoying this so much. You should be at home being a mom. But then it was brought to my attention by my mom, actually. Yeah, those people get to go work from 9 to 5 every day. And then every day they get to come home and be tired. And there's only a certain percentage of them that they haven't exhausted throughout the day that gets to come home and be mom. And the flip side of that for me was that I would leave for a day or sometimes 2 days. And the 2 days at a time were difficult, but I would leave, I would do all of my work, and then I would go home and 100% of me was mom.
Yeah.
And she said that to me really early on in motherhood. And I'm eternally grateful that she did, because it was like a light bulb went off in my head. I was like, oh my God, yeah, yes, I have to leave. Yes, I have to sacrifice an entire day. But then I get 6 days straight where I don't have to go anywhere or do anything.
Yeah.
So it just took me kind of changing my perspective on that. And then as far as wrestling went, there were a couple things that I opted not to continue doing, like certain moves where I you can figure it out.
We're gonna put a little video of it on here.
Yes. There were just things that I changed, but then that also forced me to be better, to figure out ways to be better and to, prove that I can do all of these things and wear all of these hats and do them well. And I think from that moment and that point forward, I have refused to ever let motherhood be anything other than a privilege and a joy. I've never let it be like, oh man, I don't get to go do a whole week in the UK and go out and like, I don't need to do those things, because I was so incredibly fortunate in my 20s, in the early part of my career, to do everything I could have wanted to do and see things that I would have wanted to see. So now it's literally just work to me. I go to work, I come home, and I get to be mom.
Yeah. And that's something you have instilled in me, like the last 2 years of like, just come to work and do what you have to do and then go home and not give a fuck. And I get to watch you do that now as your daughter grows and is a gymnast prodigy. And, like I get to watch you actively enjoy that part of like, I get to do what I love still, but also my daughter's first and foremost the most important thing in my life, and I'm not coming to work if it conflicts with the gymnastics meet. I'm not coming to work if she has something more important. And I think that it's so inspirational as people who are looking forward to creating a family one day, but then also for women in our industry to be able to see role models juggling both. And the fact that you've done that, I mean, Charlie's 12, 13 years old now, so you've done it for a long time, but at the height of your career just shows how versatile you are. And it's
also, I think it speaks to the people that I have worked with or worked under, worked for, whatever the proper term is. Specifically, like Tony Khan it's so important to him that family is important to his people. There has never been a time where I have missed work, and anyone at work has made me feel worse about it than what I felt. Like there's never the pressure to come to work. When I broke my foot in the ring, I had a cast on, I had a boot on, whatever. And I was fully prepared to get on the plane and go to work. they told me, take the time off, rest, enjoy your family. This past year, I lost my dad in March. And it was the hardest thing that's ever happened to me. Like, probably will ever happen to me. And it wasn't even a question of when are you coming back to work, ever. It was take all the time you need. The day that I did finally come back to work, it was, are you sure you're okay? If not, please take the time that you want. During gymnastics season, my schedule changes a little bit, and that's never a problem. So yes, part of it is my willingness to, adapt my schedule so that it works with Charlie's schedule. But it's also like the people who I work with and work for who give us the ability to do that and understand the value of family and know that you're going to bring the best version of yourself to work if what's going on at home is good and you feel like you are 100% mom, wife, whatever it is at home. When that's taken care of, you can go to work and be the best version of yourself at work.
Hey guys, if this was a conversation you needed to hear today, let us know.
Like, subscribe, and leave us a review. Lace up your boots and join the conversation.
And we'll be talking to you.
I think Tony understands that. Everybody at AEW understands that. And it does let people like me continue to do other things, be mom, go to school, chase other dreams, whatever it is. But you either got to find your preferred method of caffeine, figure out how to sleep on planes, all of the above. But like, when you want something badly enough, you figure it out.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, that's like the horror stories even getting into wrestling. Like, you always thought you'd be on the road, or at least I thought I'd be on the road 300 some odd plus days a year. You're away from your family. You're missing everything. And the business has changed and evolved to where now we're on a lighter schedule, which is good for us and our bodies, allowing women to go be a mom. Even dads getting paternity. I said it right the first time. Paternity leave, like you said, like with TK doing that, and then even at TNA as well, like they give the time off when it is needed because they know like what's going on in your own mental state is what's going to actually make a better character on television and come off more authentic. And for you, you've done so much, and I know you were talking about Hall of Fame earlier.
Yeah.
For how much she's done in your career. So I'll let you continue.
Yeah. Well, we've talked about this privately, but we just saw TNA induct, if I could speak today. We saw TNA induct an all-female class Hall of Fame this past October at Bound for Glory. And so now that you've taken the boots off and you're not active in ring, is a TNA Hall of Fame spot maybe something you'd want one day? You are a 5-time Knockouts World Champion, a 3-time Knockouts World Tag Team Champion. I mean, you have the credentials for it.
I'm deciding how I want to respond to this. Listen, would it be an honor to have all of that work recognized and to be inducted into the TNA Hall of Fame? Yes, I would be honored because TNA, Dixie Carter, Jeff Jarrett gave me the ball to run with, not just at that time in my life when I was a 22-year-old kid who didn't even realize the magnitude of what was being offered to me. It was like walking through the door of the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So for the years that I've put in there, for the friendships that I did make there, for the stories that I told and the experiences that I had. Look, I'm not too proud to say that I was a huge fan of Victoria and Mickie James back in the day. So when they came into TNA and with both of those women, I believe I was their first match at TNA. My resume there is unmatched, and I'm confident in saying that, not with ego, but with the most humble, like sincere thought behind it. Like my resume there is pretty incredible. So would I love to have that opportunity to be inducted into the Hall of Fame? Yeah, but I also realized in the last couple of years, months, years, if that doesn't happen for me, it doesn't change everything that I've done.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Someone else making the decision as to whether or not I am worthy of something like that has no bearing on how proud I am of everything Madison Rayne has done, how proud my husband is of everything I've done, my family. When my mom passed away and we were talking, or my gosh, no, when my dad passed away, I'm sorry, and my mom and I were talking about it that day, one of the first things that she said to me was, he was so proud of you and everything that you've done in wrestling. He would tell everybody that his daughter was Madison Rayne. I've had people like, Sky Blue thank me for everything that I've done to pour into her. Those are the things that matter the most to me. And I've realized that somebody sitting at a desk somewhere deciding whether or not Madison Rayne should be inducted into the TNA Hall of Fame doesn't matter to me, because real life things are bigger than someone validating me in that way, if that makes sense.
That's why she's a good coach.
1000%. It's so funny because I said that in an interview once with PWI. And when I was at TNA, I was like number 3 on the women's list or whatever. And they thought, like, we'll announce it on a podcast and get your live reaction. And I literally had the same thought of like, I'm so grateful that I was able to do enough to get me that position. But like, what is that position? That's someone sitting behind a desk saying you won 100 matches and number 4 won 90 matches. And that means more. But what matters to me, and this is why we're such great friends, is like, I care about how people feel when I'm around them. I care about how I make them feel about themselves. I care about building them up. I care about making them look good in the ring and telling good stories. And that means more than an award in a sport that is so like subjective.
Yeah.
What we do is fake. And like Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback because there's stats that prove that, right? No one is the greatest wrestling world champion because the stats behind that, So
Yeah.
I understand where you're coming from 100%. I guess to piggyback off that though, like throughout all of the iterations we've seen of Madison Rayne, whether it's the Beautiful People, whether it was the Queen Bee, whether it was Ashley Rayne when you were in the Mae Young Classic, or is it this version of you now who's advocating for women's wrestling behind the scenes and making us the best versions of ourselves at AEW? What's your favorite version of you?
Oh my gosh. My knee-jerk reaction to that is this version. But if I'm honest with myself, I think there have been other versions of me that I am, as I sit here today, maybe more proud of. And I only say that because this version is not complete. And I hope for a long, long time it's not. I hope I continue coaching and producing and working with AEW until it's time for me to retire and never work again. But I think the Queen Bee version of Madison Rayne was so incredibly special because it was when she broke off from the Beautiful People. I came into TNA and was put in this like golden opportunity to be part of that group that had already been established and was so popular and doing so well in and for the company. And I will never, ever take that for granted. I'm so thankful that happened for me and that I was able to explore that character and really grow like as a person, as a character. That was some of the first work I had ever done in my entire career as a heel, was on TV with an established group. So that was difficult, but it forced me to grow. It made me better. But then after that, when I broke off from that and I kind of developed my own character, and I was coming out with tiaras that just increasingly got bigger and bigger and more obnoxious, and the high pitched scream and all of that, like that was, there were creative bits of that given to me, but that was me. In wrestling, like behind the scenes, it's always said like the best characters are just you elevated. And I've never really subscribed to that, because me is just like me in sweatpants and buying too many dogs that I don't need. And like, how do I turn that into a character that's successful on TV? But actually, I was a homecoming queen when I was a kid. I was a theater nerd in high school. And so looking back on it, actually, that's so true, that I took those elements of myself, growing up and figuring out who I was, and I took that experience that I had during my time with the beautiful people, and I turned that into this mega bitch of a character that was the most fun, just being off the wall and obnoxious, and you never knew what was going to come out of my mouth. Half the time I didn't know what was going to come out of my mouth. But it was so fun. And it was fun because once the creative team at the time realized like, oh, like she can talk and she's kind of funny and she like doesn't hold back, then they kind of gave me my own spotlight, and that was really rewarding. So that was probably my favorite version. And then obviously the Madison Rayne that came back as a brand new mom and won the Knockouts championship for the 5th time, and feuded with Gail Kim all over the world. That's pretty badass too. So
Yeah.
I would say one of those two, or if I can just be long-winded for one more second, it maybe 2018 Madison Rayne is up there in contention for my favorite version, because that was a time where I was questioning, what do I have left to do in wrestling? I went through like just some shitty stuff at the time and was kind of questioning, like, maybe I should go to nursing school. Maybe I should do something else. And then I pivoted and I decided, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to bow out because things don't feel good right now. I'm going to bow out when I'm good and ready. And that was right in around 2018. And in that year, I left TNA for the first time, had a WWE tryout for the first time in my career, competed in the Mae Young Classic. Mm-hmm. Then a week, or maybe not even a week later, I competed in a 4-way match at the very first All In, which, was the stepping stone to the beginning of AEW. So when I look back at that year, after being on television wrestling at that point for 9 years and thinking like, okay, well, we're going to slowly start to fizzle out here. And then I like kind of flew back on the scene, like a stick of dynamite. I just exploded there for about a year, and that was unexpected in the best way. So yeah, those are all like kind of the tentpole moments that I'm the most proud of throughout my 100 years of wrestling.
Well, it's crazy you say 2018. I was there for all of that, right? But that was 8 years ago. And it doesn't feel like it was that long ago, but like you're sitting here being like, I thought I'd fizzle out and I didn't expect what happened. And you just now have decided to take those references up 8 years later. Like you thought this 8 years ago, and look at you now.
I have a lot to, I have to credit my husband, Josh, for a lot of this though, because when my brain starts to go in a direction that is not right for me, or that I like overanalyze myself to death, or I think, oh, I'm not good enough for that, I'm not going to be able to do, he doesn't let those words last very long. Like he cuts me off pretty quickly, and he is my biggest supporter in every possible way. Like whether it's wrestling or being a mom or any of the number of dumb things that I've decided over the 10 years that we've been together that I want to do. Like, hey, let's move from Nashville to Ohio. Hey, let's get 4 dogs. Hey, Charlie wants a chinchilla. Why don't we try that out? Like, he will try to redirect, but at the same time, like, I've never known someone who lets me be so authentically me, even though that goes against the grain of his like type A personality. um, he's the best motivator because I think he sees things in me that I don't always see, or that I'm like too erratic to see. So I think a lot of why I'm still here and still persevering and still continuing down this path is because he never let me say I quit.
Yeah.
And everybody should find a spouse who is so supportive.
I did. I won that battle too.
Well, and
You
paid
really
Madison
did.
for that.
Yes. But no,
Wait,
it's
what did
like-
I do?
That's the one.
You,
good thing-
you told me I deserved his love. That's
was-
what
what
you
was
did.
I did.
You're lumberjack Larry
Lumberjack
for a long
Larry.
time.
Yeah. Mhm.
Was it my long hair and my beard?
But
It
yeah,
was.
Now,
yeah. She convinced me. She and numerous other people convinced me that I should let you love me.
well, I gave you no
Mhm.
choice. So. But that's like, I think that's the one thing that's the constant though, is like, if you have that support system outside of wrestling, because the business that we live in is just so cutthroat. Things change at all times. And like you were saying earlier, it's always up to somebody else's decision, and we can only control what we can. And that's within our home. That's our 15 dogs, our chinchillas.
Yeah.
Like that's what you can control. And that's the best thing to that always you can rely on.
Yeah.
And no matter what, like even when I'm going through some things, like even now, like there's some doubt in certain aspects of my career where I'm just like, oh, do I want to continue to do this? And then this one's there to pick me right back up, and then vice versa with the past year.
Yeah.
And
The answer is always yes, guys.
yes,
Yeah.
it's never wrong to say yes to everything, because that's what I always say to her. But for you, then we always ask this as we wrap up the show, and we always ask the one person to give some advice. So for you, with the 20-year journey, multiple world championships, tag team champions, all the hats and the boots that you do wear, what would be the one piece of advice that you would give young Madison Rayne just starting out?
Stick with it and always be the bigger person in the room. Always be the bigger person in the room. To your point, Steve, wrestling can be so cutthroat and can drive you 20 different types of crazy. But being a terrible human being, and look, it's in every industry, I'm sure, but there are a lot of crummy people in wrestling who, if they can tear you down, that is an opportunity for them to step on you to get where they want to be. Let them do it. Because if I have learned anything in 20 years, hard work will always outweigh the bullshit. The people who matter, the people who are going to some degree, control the puppet strings of your career in terms of, the creative aspect of it and how many bookings you're going to get and all of that. Like they're going to, people at the top want good people surrounding them. And I have seen so many, countless times, the good people in the long run always win. And the shitty ones that are going to go behind your back and aren't going to speak your name into a room when you're not in it, those people might shine real bright and you might envy them and you might wish that you had it in you to be that cutthroat and that nasty to get ahead. It's never going to work. And if it does skyrocket you to the moon short term, you still got to take that version of a human being home, and you've still got to lay that head down on a pillow at night and know that the steps that you took may have gotten you where you wanted to go for now, but in the long run, it's not going to work out. I can't tell you how many conversations I have with girls in the locker room, like just, sharing frustrations and girl talking. And I say to them, like, what you're upset about right now, I promise you by summer is not going to matter. Like, don't get in your own way so much that you destroy opportunities. And I hope I'm articulating that properly, because it's a really important thought in my mind. And I wish that I could share that with more people, because yes, this business is cutthroat and it can be nasty and all of those things. But I do think over the course of these 20 years, it has evolved that I have seen. Like, I was told one time 22 years ago, you're never going to get a job if you don't get your boobs done. Like, those were things that were allowed to be said 20 years ago. I mean, I got my boobs done, but I did that for me. It wasn't for this job. But that's not, at least in my experience, the weens.
Sorry.
Those aren't qualities that leadership has anymore. And if they do, those people tend to find themselves on the outside looking in also. But I don't know, that seems really cliche, but it's worked for me for 20 years. I can be the biggest bitch in the world if I need to, but usually if I need to, it's because I'm defending what's right. And if you always have right on your side, it's going to work out. Maybe not in the way that you thought it would, but it's always going to work out as long as you have right on your side.
I like that. Defending what's right.
Yeah. That's all you've ever done.
I know.
No, I mean, you've imparted that on me so much in the last 2 years, but I feel like, yeah, if you can just put your nose down and do the work and block out the bullshit and change and pivot where you need to and reinvent yourself and evolve as the time goes on, then you're the perfect example of that. 20 plus years. And you might not be in the ring anymore, but you are still giving to the women at AEW, and we all love you. And to have you as the example, I think shows everyone what you can do when you do that. You block out the noise and you just go to work. And you're a bigger person and a better person. What does that say? You catch more flies with honey than you do vinegar. And
yes.
I've had to learn that real quick, but of course you've not heard it. So no, I think it makes total sense. And I think that, yeah, again, you're the queen of reinvention. So everyone should.
One other thing that I actually heard, I think we heard it on the most recent season of Dancing with the Stars. But John, you'll appreciate this, Steve. Just hang with me for a second.
I'm forced to watch Dancing with the Stars.
No, you like it.
Hey, then you'll know. Josh and I took a quote from one of the couples, and we've really imparted it on everything that we do. And it was, pressure is a privilege. And I'm sure that wasn't invented by the celebrity on Dancing with the Stars who said it, but it's such a simple thought. But if you really dig into it, there's so much truth to it. Yeah. Every day that we go to work, like, we're in this 24-hour pressure cooker. But I remember being on the outside looking at AEW going, God, that place is like doing something really special for wrestling. And these people are doing something really special. And I so badly want to be a part of it. And that's a perfect example of, like, yeah, there's a lot of like stress and pressure, especially when you're chasing something. You're like, Deonna, you know this, you're in school. Like, that pressure added to everything else we do is a privilege. Like, we get to do those things, and it only makes us better, and we only grow from it. So maybe not wrestling specific, but that's just one that I may be going through midlife crisis and I want to tattoo everything on my body, but like, that's one that will stick with me long term. Pressure is a privilege. So like, when things are really hard, if you twist your mindset just a little bit and think of it as, okay, this is a privilege. Like, I get to work through this, where other people are standing on the outside looking in, wishing they had this pressure.
Yeah.
So
Good way to look at it.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just another one.
No, I love that. I love it so much. I'll find strength and pain tattooed on me. So I feel like that's the same thing, right? Like,
You're going to have a dragon tattooed on you
and we're
soon.
getting
We got to
Master
figure this
Dragon
out.
tattoos.
Wait, what?
Spoiler alert, Steve.
Where's this dragon tattoo going?
So in Long Live by Taylor Swift, she says, I have the time of my life fighting dragons with you.
You guys have been putting that quote up.
Exactly. And
Yes.
so I had the time of my life fighting dragons with Madison for the last
And I
10
had the
years.
time of my life being the dragon kind of floating behind Deonna now and letting her fight all the battles.
Because I'm
she's the real
crazy.
badass. In the best way.
In the best way. In the most, I mean well with the craziness.
Always.
But
And that's why I love you.
I love you too. Thank you so much for joining us on Boots to Boots. We are so grateful to be able to tell the story of the last 20 years of your career and give everyone like an inside look on what it's like to be behind the scenes now, but also have lived as a multi-time world champion and mom, creating opportunities for women all across wrestling. So more than just being my best friend and being a guest on our podcast, you're a role model and an inspiration. So thank you.
Jeez, thank you.
As I started to cry, what the fuck?
Yeah. Well, I can't really follow that. So
You're just a pretend badass, Deonna. Stop crying.
no.
But I meant every word of it. So yeah.
Thank you guys.
Love you so
I don't
much.
have
Thanks for
I don't
coming
I
on.
don't have a good like way to button this up because it's
You
been-
can show me your wiener.
I
Why don't you
will.
whip that
Hold
thing
on.
out? Yeah,
Hold
whip
on.
that thing out. Mm. I love that the Oregon Ducks is on the chair.
Of course it is, because that's his name too. I think it's Otson.
Otson?
Otson? Is
Adi?
that? Yeah, Adi.
Adi. Adi go potty.
It's Adi's gotta go. Is it Otson
The name of the stadium.
Yes. Yeah, that's
Yes,
right.
it is.
There you go.
Oh, he's just
look
a
at that
little
little
baby.
baby.
Oh my gosh, Ashley's so cute.
He's so little.
He
Look
looks
at
like
him.
he's just been
That's
asleep
it.
the whole time. Oh my god.
Oh my gosh. And I think he's a mini.
He is a mini.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
they
think
lied to us about Oliver.
So his mom was 11 pounds and his dad was 9.
Oh, wow.
Hi, Adi. Hi, baby. Oh my gosh. That's a good looking wiener.
Yeah, you got a good looking ween.
He's a little weenie, but he's beautiful. That's my man.
Well, we won't keep you any longer. We love you.
I love you.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
guys for letting me do this. It was fun.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Hey guys, if you're enjoying Boots to Boots, let us know.
Lace up your boots and join the conversation.
Like, subscribe, leave us a comment.
And we'll be talking to you.